Hello everyone and welcome back to B-Movies Presents Cinema of Steel. Today, we're looking at Superman 3 starring Christopher Reeve and Richard Pryor.
It's gonna hurt real bad.
Lex Luthor and Lois Lane do sit this one out entirely as Superman takes a vacation to Smallville, romances his high school sweetheart Lana Lang, and squares off against his most cunning adversary yet.
Yes, the notoriously edgy comedian Richard Pryor co-stars in Superman 3 as a computer genius who skims money from his employer, Robert Vaughn, in a scheme that would later be used in Mike Judge's office space.
Instead of calling the police, Vaughn decides to blackmail Richard Pryor into a series of harebrained schemes, which include synthesizing kryptonite and replacing an unknown element with cigarette tar, turning Superman into a super jerk who blows out the Olympic torch, sleeps with Robert Vaughn's girlfriend, and then fights himself to the death before waging war on a supercomputer and an evil robot version of Robert Vaughn's sister?
Remember, kids, cigarettes are bad for you.
Whitney, what do you think? Is this the worst Superman ever?
Yes, this is the worst Superman film. Now, there is one thing I do very much like about this movie, and it's Lana Lang. Lois Lane is hardly in this movie, and Lana Lang comes in as a much more interesting, dynamic, moral, and worthy mate to Superman Clark Kent. That, however, is not nearly enough to outweigh all of the strange, bonkers stuff that's in this movie. It is off the wall. Richard Pryor, a comedian, plays a computer genius. That's weird. There's a climax where Superman fights a supercomputer where a robot wraps around a person, and this is like nightmare fuel for little kids. Robert Vaughn isn't a very interesting villain. This is not a good movie.
But you're right. Annette O'Toole is really great as Lana Lang. She has a really interesting, likable relationship with Clark Kent. Christopher Reeve is great in this movie. He finally gets to explore Clark Kent as a character, and then when he starts getting taken over and turning into a quasi-bizarro Superman, he's having so much fun just being a jerk. But again, this is a boring movie. Richard Pryor is in it, and he's not even funny. It's just frustrating and annoying. Robert Vaughn is this weird Lex Luthor stand-in, like they couldn't even be bothered to come up with a new villain for him to play. There's a lot of really dumb sequences. There's a video game sequence that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's a pretty bad movie, which is a shame because there are a couple of really good performances in here. Let's see how this one ranks up, shall we?
It's clearly the worst and might stay at the bottom of my list. Superman is still at the top. I still like the serials a lot. I still like the Fleischers a lot, and I even like Superman 2, just because it's fourth doesn't mean it's bad, but Superman 3 is bad. It's at the bottom.
There's things I like in it, but you have to sift through so much boring crap just to get there. It's not even worth it. It's at the bottom. It's probably going to stay at the bottom for the rest of this series. I don't want to give away any suspense, but man, Superman 3 just stinks.
What are you looking at? Huh?
Thanks for joining us today on Cinema of Steel. Be sure to join us next time as we'll be talking about the campiest of the Superman films, Supergirl.
You got hit on the head by a coconut.
Huh?